All right, what's up, guys? So in the previous video, we talked about, a little bit about how we met and my experience. So today, I just want to touch on just the overall experience and what it's like actually being in a relationship with a woman that's from India, and vice versa, what it's like for her to be an Indian woman and be in a relationship with a black man. So for me personally, I grew up in a kind of setting where I was raised primarily by my mother and my grandma. So for me, they didn't really put any type of like prerequisite on who I was supposed to be with or who I was supposed to marry. My mom just a hardworking woman, and I'm her only son. So for her, she just wanted me to be with somebody that had a good head on their shoulders, someone that wasn't gonna like cause drama and get me into a whole bunch of nonsense. It didn't really matter the color, where they were from. But if you're a woman from India or any of those neighboring countries, like I told you about, Pakistan, Bangladesh, it's a little bit different. Not a little bit different, it's a lot different. So I'm gonna let them tell you about it because it's her culture. So tell them a little bit about exactly what it means to be a woman in those three, well, similar, but no, let's speak on your country, India. What it's like to be a woman in India. How does it go in terms of dating? What's expected of you? Marriage, are you allowed to date? Can you hang out? Who does your parents want you to bring home? And tell me a little bit about what exactly that is, because a lot of people don't, because I didn't know until we met. So you got to put them on to exactly how much is really involved in that.
Okay, so I will talk about me because I can't. There are other parents who lets their children date, have interracial relationship, but I will say how my parents or people from my place react to interracial, relationship, even if you want to call that, or even dating in general. So usually when we are in school, our parents would tell boys have cooties. So what do? You can't date, and you cannot have male friends. You cannot have boyfriends. So that's one of the big reasons why a lot of Indian women won't date during college, and then they get forced into arranged marriages. But there are a lot of parents, on the other hand, who will let their kids date, have all the freedom, but it really depends on your parents. On the other hand, my parents were really strict, really traditional, if you want to say, because I was the oldest daughter. I have two younger siblings. They wanted me to set an example for them, so they would have the life that they always wished for. So my parents wanted me to get married or date after college. They never let me date during college. They wanted me to finish my college. They wanted me to focus on my studies. That's what all our parents say. Focus on your studies. Don't get involved in boys. Don't do any of that things. So you finish your studies, you get a job, and then you will look for a boy. So that's what I did. I went to school. I finished my college, and I ended up 23 years old with no man.
So for those of them, so basically growing up, you weren't allowed to have boyfriends.
I was not allowed to have boyfriends.
Couldn't hang out, go on dates.
No dates, no hangouts. When I was young, my parents were even stricter. So I wasn't able to have a phone. I wasn't able to call my friends from class, even if it was a female. We were never able to go to their place to like have a dinner, movie night, none of these. I wasn't allowed to do any of those. I had a strict curfew from high school. My class ended at 2:40, and I was supposed to be home by 10 minutes, so around 2:50. If not, my parents, either one of them, would be outside waiting for me. So I personally had a stricter parent growing up, but they changed as time passed. They did change. For my younger siblings, they are not dating wise, but they are allowed to have friends. I see them come over to our place. They have friendsgiving, they have dinner, they have play dates, they go out shopping, they get food after school. But that wasn't me. That I just never had any of those. It's like I said, it's more because they wanted me to be the example for my younger siblings. That is what all the parents say, regardless if you're Desi, if you're Asian, if you're Black. That's what they want. More like your older siblings to lead the way for the younger siblings.
So when you say lead, so they know, that means that you were expected to marry someone that they chose.
Yes. So my parents, after college, gave me an opportunity to find a man. But I had so much, requirements that I had to meet. It really was like a tedious job. And also being a 24-year-old adult, a lot of my people from my culture are already taken or married. So at that point, I really didn't have any choice of guys that I liked personally. Before him, I did go on dates with people from my culture. We never hit it off. It's either they were my type or they just didn't fit the profile that I liked. So I was allowed to go on dates after college, after I started working, just because they started feeling I was getting older and they needed me out of the house. That is another thing. So Indian parents do want their kids to get married very young. My parents didn't force me, but I wanted to finish school before I even got married. But as soon as I was done with college, that's all they talked about. That's all my relatives talked about. I went to India for a vacation. That's all they asked: when you're getting married, when you're getting married, when you're getting married. So as soon as I was done with college, everyone I talked to, when are you getting married? Or when are you finding a man? Until then, you cannot have boyfriends. You cannot have friends. You cannot have male friends. It's the culture. Or at least for me. But there are other exceptions.
Yeah. So when they say go on dates, it has to fit that criteria. And that criteria is they have to be, from your state in that country. So your particular region of India, where she's from, Kerala. So it's like when they say go on dates, not like it's a free for all to choose whoever. It was a certain criteria that she had to follow, had to be like.
So they had to be Malus. So I am from a state called Kerala, and we're called Malayalis. So we're called Malus, as in short term. Had to be Malus. They had to be Christians. So technically they had to have a good family background, which is very important to our culture. Good family background. My parents always wanted the guy to have siblings. So siblings, that's another criteria. And also a very well-rounded person, which is really hard to find these days, honestly. Hitting all of that criteria is kind of hard unless I start looking for them back home, which I wasn't in favor of. And my parents always told me, if you can't find a guy here, we're gonna take you back home and we'll get you married over there. I'm like, I don't want that. And I never felt a connection to people back home because I barely was brought up there. I was there for 4 years, but I was brought up here the whole entire life. Came here when I was 2. I was here throughout my middle school, went back for a couple of years for my junior high and high school, came back, I did my college here. Technically, I lived my life here, and I don't want men from back home. It's just not my type. It's just not my type. There are a lot of people from my place who actually go back and find guys and girls back there, but it was just not my type.
Yeah. And as you guys can see, I'm not Malu. I'm the furthest thing from that. So for those,
he grew out his dreads after.
Oh yeah, my hair was a lot short. I mean, it's still short for anybody that has dreads.
It was fades.
For anyone that has dreads, this is probably, it's still the baby stage. But so basically we're here, obviously, right? So explain to them exactly, because they may not know. They may think, oh, it's just, you're Indian, he's black. Okay, what's the big commotion? Explain to them what it means when you have, because you said you have some families from India, let you have free reign to let you date. Then you have some more of the traditional parents like she has, where they'll give you a choice to find a man to marry within that criteria. And if you don't do that, find a criteria or do it in a certain time frame, they'll find one for you. So tell them like what happens to, well, not happens, I don't want to think something crazy, but what's the perception, what's the result of a woman that says, you know what, mom, you know what, dad, I don't want this arranged marriage. I don't want this person that you want for me. I'm going to go and be who I want to be, and I'm going to choose my own person. What happens to that person? Or, not having that person, what happened in our situation? What's the result?
So, in that situation, it could go a lot of ways. Some people would say, okay, you could stay home. Some parents would say, that is not acceptable. We need to get you married off, because for parents, it's reputation. That's one of the biggest things in our culture, reputation. So in order to have that reputation going, all the males and females have to get married. So they would find a person who they think it will suit the girl or the guy and get them married off to them. That's the second scenario. The third scenario is, hey mom, I found a guy, but it's not your culture. You know what? Okay. So under that scenario, there are two different ways it could go. The parents could accept it, or the parents could say, you know what? You want to be with that guy? You could leave.
Peace.
You could say peace.
Meaning peace as in you're done. Like,
you're cut off from the family.
Yeah, we're cutting you off. You're not rocking with you.
So a lot of families back home, a lot of parents will do that, but a lot of parents here are more understanding. They will let you rock out with your significant other, because mind you, life is very short. It's very short, and you don't want to regret not having to talk to your child. You don't want to regret not having to be with that person during the most important time of their life. So
it's a huge thing. So
it's a huge thing,
and it's not even family. It's if we go to an Indian restaurant, it's no one will say anything to you. No one will ever walk up to you and say anything to me or say anything to her.
Or derogatory. There's no, they won't call you derogatory.
It's nothing crazy like that. But it's almost like if we go into an Indian restaurant or Indian supermarket or any kind of Indian, it doesn't have to be Indian. It could just be Desi, which is, like I told you, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan. That's called Desi. So if we're anywhere that's like a restaurant or a supermarket or a neighborhood and we're walking together, no one will say anything, but we get certain like looks. Because they kind of know that the relationship more than likely wasn't approved, or they assume it wasn't approved, or they frown upon it because they feel that she's supposed to be with someone
from my culture,
from her culture. So people will stare, or they may talk amongst themselves. They may like whisper over, like people talking trash. They'll whisper over and they'll say things. They'll get the eyes. So in the beginning, it was very like
awkward for him.
For me,
I'm used to it because I've had people, even my girlfriends, when we like walk out together and stuff like that, I've had people come and tell my parents that, oh, she and her was here at this time at this place doing this. So I'm used to it.
For me, it was new because
For him, this is not a norm. For me, it's a norm. Like, you
Yeah.
know, our culture, our people have eyes on everyone. So we know everyone around the place. And there's someone of our culture at every place we go. So I'm used to the looks. I'm used to the gauges. I'm used to the back talks. It is what it is.
For
But
me,
for him,
yeah, for me, it wasn't more like every culture has. Listen, you know, like every culture has the local gossipers, the old ladies from the church, front the porch. Everyone has that. For me, I think what was new to me was just having people care so much about my personal life. Like, if you're a black dude and you're dating somebody, people don't care. They look at you and they keep moving. It's not a huge thing. I'm kind of like, I carry myself in public a certain way. I don't bring attention to myself. I'm pretty low key. I'm quiet. So I'm not used to being in a world where like I raise people's eyes. So that was something that was like new for me.
And every time we go out to eat to like an Indian place, they would be like, oh, they're together.
Yeah.
She's Indian, because I would talk in my language, or I would have that Indian accent, or I would know how to say specific food that only Indian people would know how to say it. And then he's him, you know, he's him.
And this is everywhere, because this is when we're home in New York, Jersey, we went to Turkey, we went to Arizona. So this is like, it's not like just like a New York, Dallas, Houston,
Canada.
Dallas, Houston, Canada. All these places we've been to, it's the same demeanor. So it's not like it's a New York thing where people are just like, what do you call it, rude. It's everywhere. And it's more, like I told you, it's because of the
unexpectancy.
It's like
it's people don't expect you to be with someone who's not from your culture.
Yeah.
You can't blame them, because that's what they know, that's what they were taught, and that's what I was taught too. But hey, you just love who you love. You can't force someone to love you, or you can't force to be loved by someone, or you can't force yourself to love someone else. It's who you love is who you love. And then who you want to be with is who you want to be with. You can't really change that. And then it's more of their perception against ours for why is she with him, or why is he with her. Like, you know, she shouldn't be with him because he's black, or he shouldn't be with her because she's Indian. Yeah.
And it's something that I'm getting better at. I will say honestly, I used to care about it more when it's new, but like I just turned 30, guys, so I'm kind of at the point now where it's like I'm not really trying to like have people. You gotta have like tougher skin to navigate this world, so can't be like going off in fumes by a personal look or anything. People who could look, as long as you don't touch me, you know, you touch me, then it's a different story. But people who want to look, they can look. That's their right. And I've learned to just.
You know what we do? We just look back at them.
Just look
smile.
back. Yeah, we just over time, you just kind of like get used to it. And I know there's a lot of people out there. That's why the reason why we put out this video, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are probably struggling or dating somebody that's maybe like unorthodox in their world, and they're dealing with like family pressure, family rejection, societal pressures, people saying things, walking down the street. So I know we're not the only one. So I feel like this is a good video just to talk a little bit about our experience with family and just outsiders. But honestly, guys, outside of that, it's really not a big deal. Like, we live our life, we go places, we go to the gym, everyone knows us. It's a big world out there. And so whatever part doesn't really rock with you, there's a large part that does. So you gotta just like focus on that aspect of it. I mean,
yeah, that is true, because people who don't rock with you will never rock with you. People who do will always have your back regardless what it is. Because dating someone out of your culture makes you want to be unwanted. I don't want to be wanted. Right. That's about it.
Yeah, guys, so that's pretty much my experience. I can go a little bit more, talk to you about some other things, but for all you out there that's dating somebody that's kind of questioning about, go ahead and date that person. Do it.
Because
I stamp it. Go
Yeah.
date that person. Go get married. Life is short, guys.
Peace out.